Welcome to part 2 of our artist talk with DeAndra Hodge. If you haven't already checked out part 1, which includes her introduction and journey, the link is in the description box. Enjoy!
All right, so like I mentioned earlier on in my little spiel, one of the things that I get approached for a lot in illustration work involves having to draw real life people into a very stylistic illustration style. So I'm going to demonstrate that here with all of you. So for our subject today, I picked the late great Tupac Shakur as my study. So usually whenever I am going through the process of having to like illustrate someone like a real life person, I try to find a lot of different like reference images of them. Especially if I'm trying to like figure out the face, I try to find reference images that depict like different kind of like planes of the face. So like one where they're front facing, maybe one from like 3/4 view, like here that I have in the reference photo from the side, and maybe one of them having like a specific expression. That way I can kind of understand how their face moves and like what kind of shapes their face makes and everything. So I'm gonna demo that right now over like his features and whatnot. So I can really see what shapes I'm dealing with. So already I noticed Tupac has like I'm gonna ignore his hat, but I noticed that Tupac has a very square and long face. He has small ears. Already I can see that like his eyes and eyebrows are very, very prominent. I'm just gonna block those out. He has very small pupils compared to the rest of his eye. Nose ring. Oops, gonna outline this. Very thick mustache. Get his lips and everything. Already I'm noticing his bottom lip is a little bit wider than his top. And then I will take this and kind of move it over to the side. And this is usually when I will kind of write notes and everything. So I treat this like I'm actually like studying something. It's just something that I used to do like in art school whenever we would have to do portraits of people. So I would like write notes, like having kind of like a very long face, very square jaw. I think his eyes, to me, his eyes are very long, but he has small pupils. Right. Very prominent eyebrows. Ignore my handwriting or my very sloppy handwriting. I don't know what it is about writing digitally, but I don't know. My handwriting just looks terrible when I'm writing digitally. It looks so much better, I promise, on regular paper. But yeah, so this is sort of something that I will sort of look at just to kind of get a good idea of kind of understanding Tupac's face a bit. I might even go in and sort of try to see like what are some other things I notice. Like notice he has very long eyelashes. So that could be like a nice detail to sort of add into a picture of him. Look at his eyelash lids. And like it looks like he has kind of like this plane to his face, which means that he has like very protruding bones, like what do you call it? Like cheekbones. Like he has a very distinct bone structure. So kind of anticipate that. All right, now I'm going to exit out of these photos so I have a little bit more room. And on a different layer, I'm going to try and draw Tupac at more of like a 3/4 view. I find that drawing people at a 3/4 view, not only is that easier for me, but I feel like I get a better idea of more of the shape of their face because it's not just like, I feel like the face just gets kind of flat when it's straight on. Whereas like from the side, you can kind of see like, okay, like they have a cheek that comes out here and their jaw comes out a little bit more. So it's a little bit more of a dynamic, more fun way to draw the face. So I'm gonna start off with the circle. There's a long face. Make it come down here. Here's probably here, and then kind of bring in his jaw a bit. I'm anticipating like that his eyes are probably going to rest somewhere up here, which means that his cheek will kind of start to come out about there, which means because it's coming out here, there's got to be like kind of a line here to imply some part of the face. Also, I noticed that unlike the other picture I was looking at, he has more of a goatee on his chin this time. Let's see. Then I might just add in a neck and shoulder. I'm not going to do the whole neck and shoulders because I don't really care about that at this point. Zoom in. Let's see. His nose will come about here, I believe. He has a very straight bridge. I'm also going to add in more like a brow bone here. I think I can make his jaw with a square coming into here. So I'm just going to quickly try and draw out his eyes. Like I said, to me, they look like very long and they're kind of prominent. Let's maybe kind of like a little eyebrow line. Just draw in the pupil there. He has like, how do I describe it? Like his eyes are like roundish, and the reason why I know that they're kind of roundish is because you can see a lot of his pupil, which usually indicates that the eyes have more of a roundness to them. Add a little bit of blush. I'm always kind of bad. Even now, I'm still kind of bad at drawing the other eye on the opposite end. But we're gonna try the live demo. I don't really draw Tupac very often, so I thought this would be a good one for you guys to see kind of how I figure these sort of things out. Bottom is a little wonky. Just kind of wow. Sometimes I'm never afraid to use like the warp tool for these, just so I can kind of better understand. If it comes down some, then I'll probably look a little better. And then one thing that, like I said, his eyebrows are really, really thick. So I think that's something that I can kind of like, what's the word? Over exaggerate. Yeah, I can over exaggerate these. Like if I was drawing Rihanna, I think I would over exaggerate her Cupid's bow. I think that's like the most prominent part of like Rihanna's face. Or at least that's the part that I would probably have the most fun drawing. So I would probably over accentuate that. That's another reason why I do like this little map here, is to kind of see like what already sticks out to me. And for me, it's like his eyebrows, his eyes, his nose ring, and like his mouth and everything. So if I can kind of nail those, then I can kind of get the likeness down a little bit better. Let's see. So here, he has kind of like a bell shape to his nose where it kind of like comes out. So add that, prominent nostrils, add this little middle bit, and then can kind of fade that out. This could, actually, I think this could move over a little bit on the face. And then I can kind of imply his little nose right there. And about here, I can start his mouth. And then get his mustache. Add some hair down here. Maybe add his little bandana. How does it go? Like this? Yeah. And so this is kind of like a under sketch, I would say. Usually after that, I'll try to clean it up by going over it in black. Oh, thank you. I'm on the right layer, right? Yep. Always check to make sure you're on the right layer, guys. I've done that way too many times. Even 3 years in, I will work on the wrong layer. Just kind of accentuate some of this more. Also, my hands are, I won't lie, are a little bit sweaty right now, so it kind of is making my my pen glide a little too much. Yeah, this is honestly like my favorite type of art to do is anything that involves like drawing somebody. I just always find like a lot of interest in people's faces and just how unique they can be and just like the ways that I would capture that in a drawing. Can't forget his eyelashes. They are very long. I wonder, honestly wonder if someone has ever like told him that he had really like long eyelashes before. But yeah, I often find that people's just like looking at people's faces, and maybe I stare at people too much in public for this, but I just find that everybody's face is really interesting. And I think it's just a nice way to kind of I don't know, just like relax at the end of the day, maybe go to a coffee shop and just like sketch the people that I see. And it also is just a great source of inspiration for me when it comes to like character design for other projects. That's not how a polygon works. Character design for like other projects where I'm just like looking at other people and kind of seeing like how they dress and how they do their hair and like what does their nose look like and how can I make that look like them. So something else I like to do, I love an under sketch. So I love to just like turn that black and then like kind of mess with it. But that's how I would draw Tupac Shakur and everything. Oh yeah, the brush I'm using is just the 6B pencil on Procreate. I live and die by that. Let's see. Now, something else that I often have to do when working as an illustrator, especially whenever I do like the like a biography of someone, oftentimes I have to draw that person at a point in time when they don't have like a ton of pictures of them, right? So like when they're a kid or something, or maybe when they're a little bit older. So this gets into the territory where I have to kind of play magician a little bit and maybe use context clues of like that person, what they might have looked like. I think for LeBron, I had to draw like a couple of scenes where he was younger, and that one I just cheated because his son Bronny looks exactly like him. So I just looked at pictures of Bronny and figured it out. But if I was going to draw like a younger Tupac, like let's say a little kid Tupac, I think I'm gonna do, yeah. So I think I would keep his long head, give him his ears and everything, but I'm not gonna accentuate his bone structure yet. Something that I notice whenever I'm like drawing people at different ages is that I feel like adults have just more like their features look more prominent and like more finished, I guess. Like they look like more like a fully formed person. Not that kids don't look like people, but like they look like younger people, that they have further to go. They like have like more to grow and everything. So kind of having to learn to understate that. I think I will keep um his eyes the same, like kind of big eyes that he has. Um, and then for his nose, for example, similarly to his like bone structure, typically like kids' noses are a little flatter on their face compared to when they're older. So I probably won't draw too much of his like nose bridge, but definitely draw like that kind of very nice bell shape that he has. I find I always start with like the nose because I guess it's kind of the center point of the face to me. It probably isn't actually the center point of the face, but I think it's also just a mix of like it's kind of the harder part of the face to draw at a certain angle for me. So it's like if I can get that out the way, then that's great for me. Let's see. He's a kid, so maybe he'll be like a little bit more smiley. I think adult Tupac is like plenty smiley already. Maybe he's like grinning. He seems like he'd be like a precocious child. The way that he is like as an adult, I feel like he'd be kind of like a precocious kid. Um and then like give him his lips and everything. Let's see. Something else I find is like the everybody's face has like or follows like similar proportions across the board. And I find that if you play with those proportions instead of playing with size when it comes to drawing people of certain ages, you can play with the age a little bit more. Like you can imply that like people are like a certain age based on like kind of how they look proportionally instead of like worrying about like size to draw the person. Cause I find that like no matter how like people look different regardless of their age, like across the board, kids look different from other kids. Some kids might be taller, some kids might be shorter, for example. So like you can't always rely on height to imply like a kid's age. So I find that playing with proportions though, such as his eyes being a lot bigger compared to when he's older, maybe even a little bit wider because he's like a kid and is seeing like wonders and stuff. But also that they're lower on the face than when he's older. Kind of makes it look like he has like a bigger head. Because a lot of times kids look like just seem like they have bigger heads compared to like adults. And then like kind of pushing some of his features down. I find when like the features are closer to like the chin, it kind of gives off that same vibe because I think the chin is especially for like men, people assigned male at birth, like a lot of times like the jaw is sort of one of the last things that uh kind of like becomes more prominent when as they get older. These same messy eyebrows. Maybe mm, maybe he's like kind of being a little bit of a smart aleck to someone. We'll give him a little bit of a cheek, but like use more round shapes. And then obviously he's not gonna have his like beard or mustache. We'll say he's maybe like 10-ish years old. I want to do like a different expression for his mouth. Like I really want him to like ugh, come on. Like he's really just kind of, I don't know, saying something kind of smart mouthed. And then in the hairline, I feel like another thing I like about drawing kids is I can be a little bit messier when I draw them because kids always kind of are a little. I won't say disheveled, but they're just like a little like messy sometimes where they like don't really care about their appearance yet. Like they don't care about like running around in the dirt or like rolling around or something. Um, they're just like little like gremlins like that. Like maybe he like maybe doesn't like because I don't think he would be like bald at like a young age. So he would probably have like his hair and it's like maybe kind of a messy hairline. Well, I don't think it's messy, but like as opposed to like it's not like a clean cut, just like his natural hair and stuff. And then who knows, maybe one day this kid can grow into this guy. Maybe I will add like a little bit of a nose bridge. Yeah. And maybe add some of those eyelashes. But yeah, that is pretty much a demonstration of how I do my character design work. Let's see. I find that drawing characters, like I said, it's just like it's just really nice to really like stop and focus on all the details of a human face and to just be able to kind of see what are those unique qualities that you can bring out of any person and just like really make it stand out in your illustration. It's just like a really fun kind of art for me to do. And so I genuinely really just love drawing people. I could do this all day.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation and giving us like a deep dive into your process. I think it was super helpful just seeing you kind of like walk through all like the little steps and just point out little quirks as you see them. I can tell from the comments everyone's really loving it too, so it's really nice. What is your favorite part of the illustration process?
Favorite part of the illustration process, I think, would have to be I think just the brainstorming part of it is the most fun, just because that's like I feel like the part where I can kind of be a little bit more free. It hasn't really touched like the rest of the team yet. So I can like just really go kind of crazy with like my concepts and really just like sketch things out. So that's like the part where I am like sketching and I'm like doing research and compiling references and everything. And I think that's the part where I feel the most inspired and the most excited about a project is like, okay, what could it possibly be? Like, what kind of style does this need to exude for this kind of project? What can I like how far can I like push my own like art in order to get this job done? So I think that that first initial stage where I'm like planning and just like hoarding references on Pinterest like a raccoon to garbage is like my favorite part of the illustration process. And then of course I like coloring too, but that's later.
No, that's really cool to hear because I feel like a lot of what I normally hear from illustrators is like, I just want to be done.
Sometimes it does get to that point, but like definitely the first bit is like when it's starting, it's like, ooh, it's like sparks going off in my head of like just where can I take my imagination? So, but that's also a very valid feeling.
Yeah, I guess like add a small follow-up on that, but do you feel like when you're like working on a specific project, are you normally the one finding all the references, or do you have like, I don't know, like a client or something come to you and be like, here are the pictures I want you to like draw them exactly like these references? Like how much freedom do you have in that?
That's a really good question. It really depends on the project a lot of the time. Like for example, for Yvonne Clark and her engineering spark, because Alan, who is the author of that book, he used to be a student at Yvonne's and knows her family. So we were actually able to get a lot of pictures of Yvonne throughout the years. And there's like lots of newspaper clippings of like Yvonne at different ages and kind of getting to um like see those and really like take in like who Yvonne is as a person, but also sometimes like along with that, I would have to go and find like other reference photos for just like kind of the world that she lived in. Like it was the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Like I need to know like what technology looked like. There's a scene at the end of Yvonne Clark and her engineering spark where it's like people are gathered outside of like I guess like an appliance shop, and it's just like some old guy kind of like tuning up a TV, and I drew that up and everything, and we had to have a whole like meeting about would this TV be in color? Would it not be in color? Of course, I wouldn't be able to tell because those pictures were from like that time, so they were in black and white anyway, so I couldn't really tell. But we just decided let's just make it in color. So sometimes I will have to like kind of go and find photos. A lot of the time I can like sometimes like for like the Beyond the Game series, like with LeBron James, he's easy, he's LeBron James. I can find several photos of him, but maybe like if it's like a specific event or something like his whatever was the news broadcast where he was announcing that he was going to play for I think the Miami Heat, or was it the Cavs? Um it was like a really big like thing. I I read the manuscript, but that was a while ago. But it was like where he like switched teams or something. It was like that particular like moment. They really wanted to capture. So I'm like, okay, just making sure, is this it? Like this is the photo you want? And then on Beyond the Game, like sometimes for like legality purposes, I can't copy the image exactly if it's a really iconic photo, because then that would kind of like encroach a little bit on copyright, but also like I can't always show like the Miami Heat logo in full, like even on like the cover of Beyond the Game, like I kind of finessed it to where there's like a shine on LeBron right at the end of like the Lakers, what is obviously the Lakers logo, but it's technically not the Lakers logo because I have a shine over it. So you can't really see the whole thing. So I have to be careful. I have to be careful about the reference images, but it helps that the design team is always like every design team I've worked with has like been very helpful and communicative with like sales and marketing about like, okay, what kind of reference images can we use? What can't we use? How far can we go? Da 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 da. So it's kind of a mix of just I feel like a lot of different like projects. I have like very different experiences with the photo collection. So
Yeah, that's super interesting to hear about. I didn't know that there would be like, I don't know, even with like the glare and stuff, that would even be an issue. And the fact that you're taking artistic liberty and you're like, I'm gonna find a solution for this. That's really cool to hear. Just to sum up one last question, if you don't have any connections, how could you break your way into publishing?
so let's see. I definitely think, I guess aside from social media is a big one. That's how I got into it. But there's also, you can cold email art directors. I definitely think LinkedIn is a really good resource for like finding art directors at publishing houses, or just like art directors in general, for more than just like books, like for apparel or toys or um, like agencies who do advertisements and whatnot, finding their emails and doing this thing called cold emailing, where you're basically like, hello, insert name here. My name is DeAndra. I'm an illustrator based in Washington, D.C. And I love like your work with the company. I would love to collaborate on something. I'm available for freelance. Here's my email, here's my socials and my resume, and kind of go about it that way. Something that I know a lot of illustrators used to do back in the day was um, sending like postcards of your artwork to different publishing houses with like your information on it. That way they like have a physical copy of like your artwork, who you are, what your name is, what you do, and then they can kind of keep that on file and just kind of like pin it up to the board and just kind of like see, oh, that person's artwork. This might work for this project, and then they'll hit you up.